the Pooh and the Honey Tree. Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day. Winnie the Pooh and Tigger too. Walt Disney Home Video presents the story of Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. Let's begin now.
Like most small boys, Christopher Robin has toy animals to play with, and they all live together in a wonderful world of make-believe. But his best friend is a bear called Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short. Winnie the Pooh lived in an enchanted forest under the name of Sanders, which means he had the name over the door and he lived under it. Now when Pooh heard his cuckoo clock, he knew it was time for something, but he was a bear of very little brain. So when he thought in the most thoughtful way he could think.
Think. Oh, yes, time for my stoutness exercise.
Pooh stood in front of his mirror and tried to touch his toes.
Up, down, and touch the ground.
But instead of making him thin, the exercising made Pooh hungry. Pooh's pantry was usually full of honey, only this time there was no honey, just a buzzing noise. Pooh said to himself,
The only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. And the only reason for being a bee is to make honey. And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it.
Pooh followed the bee to a large tree. There, near the top of the tree, was a beehive full of honey. So Pooh began to climb the tree. Just as Pooh neared the beehive, the branch he was standing on broke, and down went Pooh.
It all comes from liking honey so much, I suppose,
said Pooh as he landed in a bush.
Oh, bother.
Pooh brushed the prickles from his nose and decided to go ask Christopher Robin for help. Pooh found Christopher Robin putting Eeyore's tail back on.
Christopher Robin, I was wondering if you had such a thing as a balloon about you.
Sure, Pooh. Here you are. But what do you want a balloon for?
Pooh whispered.
Honey.
But, Pooh Bear, you don't get honey with a balloon.
I do. I shall fly like a bee up to the honey tree, see?
But, Pooh, you can't fool the bees that way.
I can if I roll around in the mud until I'm black all over. There. Isn't that a clever disguise?
What are you supposed to be, Pooh?
A little black rain cloud, of course.
Pooh was very excited.
Now, would you aim me at the bees, please?
Christopher let go of Pooh, and the bear floated right up to the beehive. But the bees weren't happy to see him. Dangling by the balloon string, Winnie the Pooh called down.
Christopher Robin, I think the bees suspect something. I think it would help with the deception if you would open your umbrella and say, "Tut, tut, it looks like rain."
So Christopher Robin paced back and forth with an umbrella over his head, saying,
Tut, tut, it looks like rain.
And Pooh even tried singing a cloud song. But the bees weren't fooled by any of this, and they burst Pooh Bear's balloon. Pooh fell from the sky.
I'll catch you, Pooh!
Shouted Christopher Robin, and he did.
Oof!
When Pooh put his mind to honey, he stuck with it. He went to Rabbit's house and invited himself to lunch. Rabbit knew that Pooh was very hungry, but he still said politely,
Would you like some honey, Pooh?
And of course Pooh did. He ate and ate and ate and ate until he had eaten every last drop of Rabbit's honey. Pooh thanked Rabbit and turned to leave. But Pooh's tummy, full of honey, only got halfway out of Rabbit's small, round front door.
Oh, help and bother. I'm stuck.
Owl stopped by to see the strange sight.
Well, if it isn't Pooh Bear. Yes. It seems the entrance to Rabbit's domicile is impassable. To be exact, plugged.
At the thought of having Pooh stuck in his front door, Rabbit panicked.
Oh, dear, there's only one thing to do. I'll get Christopher Robin.
So Rabbit told Christopher Robin, and Christopher Robin hurried off to get all Pooh's friends. Owl tried to cheer Winnie the Pooh up.
You, sir, are stuck. A wedged bear in a great tightness. In a word, irremovable.
But he didn't make Pooh feel very cheerful. When Christopher Robin saw poor Pooh, he shook his head.
Silly old bear. Here, give me your arm and I'll pull you out.
Oof,
Shouted Pooh.
it's no use. I'm stuck.
Pooh Bear, there's only one thing we can do. Wait for you to get thin again.
Oh,
Pooh didn't like the idea of getting thin.
how long will that take?
Gloomy old Eeyore replied.
Days, weeks, months, who knows?
Oh, bother.
Said Pooh. So there was Winnie the Pooh, stuck until he could get thin. All Pooh's friends sat down to wait. Kanga brought some food, and they all had a picnic lunch. All except Pooh, that is. No food for him until he came unstuck. When night came, Kanga brought a warm shawl to keep Pooh from getting cold. Roo went to sleep, and so did the Pooh Bear, while Kanga sang a lullaby. Day after day, night after night, all of Pooh's friends did what they could to help. And then one morning, when Rabbit was beginning to think that he might never be able to use his front door again, it happened.
He budged. Hooray! Christopher Robin. He bidged, he badged, he booged. Today is the day.
Everyone in the 100-acre wood came running to help free Pooh Bear. From inside his house, Rabbit pushed frantically on his end of Pooh, while outside everyone else pulled on the other end of Pooh. And of course Owl was there to see that things went right. Everyone shouted, "Heave-ho! Heave-ho!" and tugged with all their might. They pulled and pushed and strained and tugged until suddenly Pooh popped out of the doorway and flew right over his rescuers and up into a hole in the honey tree.
Stuck again,
Observed Eeyore.
Well, at least it's not in my front door.
Sighed Rabbit happily. Christopher Robin called,
Don't worry, Pooh. We'll get you out.
but Pooh was quite content to remain stuck.
No hurry. Take your time.
For you see, Pooh had landed right in the bee's hive, which was full of delicious honey.
Yum, yum. I like being stuck here.
Christopher Robin shook his head and grinned.
Silly old bear.
Walt Disney Home Video presents the story of Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day.
Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh as he is called by his friends, is a bear who lives in the 100-acre wood. One very blustery day, Pooh decided to visit his thinking spot. As Pooh sat there, trying hard to think of something, up popped his friend Gopher.
Say, Pooh, if I were you, I'd think about skedaddling out of here. It's Wednesday, see?
It is?
Said Pooh.
Oh, then I think I shall wish everyone a happy Wednesday. And I will begin with my dear friend, Piglet.
wind was blowing very hard as Pooh neared Piglet's house.
Happy Wednesday, Piglet. I see you're sweeping leaves.
Yes, Pooh, but it's hard. This is a very unfriendly wind.
Just then, a big gust of wind blew Piglet up into the air. Pooh was surprised.
Where are you going, Piglet?
I don't know.
Said Piglet from overhead.
Help me, Pooh.
But when Pooh grabbed Piglet's sweater, it began to unravel. There was Piglet flying high over the countryside like a kite, with Pooh dragging behind. The two went right through Eeyore's house and Rabbit's carrot patch. Then, with the blustiest, gustiest gust of all, Piglet and Pooh were blown right up to Owl's house in a tall tree.
Pooh, Piglet, this is a special treat. I so rarely get visitors up here. Do come in.
Owl opened his window, and in blew Pooh and Piglet. The wind blew harder and harder, until finally Owl's tree, along with his house, crashed to the ground. Everyone from the 100-acre wood came to help Owl, but only gloomy old Eeyore seemed to know what to do.
If you ask me, and nobody has, I say when a house looks like that, it's time to find another one. A thankless job, but I'll find a new one for him.
And off he plodded. Finally, the blustery day turned into a blustery night. And to Pooh, it was an uncomfortable night, full of uncomfortable noises. And one of the noises was a sound that he had never heard before. Pooh got up and went to his door to investigate.
Hello out there. Oh, I hope nobody answers.
Just then, a funny-looking animal bounced into the room.
Hi, I'm Tigger. T-I-double-G-R.
Oh, you scared me.
Said Pooh.
Well, sure I did. Everyone's scared of tigers.
Well, what's a tigger?
Glad you brought that up, chum.
Then Tigger bounced around the room to show Pooh what a tigger was. Tigger stopped bouncing.
Did I say I was hungry?
Not for honey, I hope.
Said Pooh sadly.
Yuck. Tigers don't like that icky, sticky stuff. Well, I'd better be bouncing along. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
The wind continued to blow. There was a clap of thunder, and it began to rain. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained. By morning, the 100-acre wood was flooding. Pooh couldn't rescue his honey pots, so he decided to eat all the honey for breakfast. He was upside down, licking the bottom of the last pot, when the water floated him right out the door. At Piglet's house, the water was coming in through the window. He wrote a message and put it into a bottle. The message read,
Help! Piglet! Me!
The bottle floated out of his house and out of sight. Christopher Robin lived high on a hill where the water couldn't reach. So that was where everyone from the 100-acre wood gathered. Before long, Christopher discovered Piglet's message and read it.
Owl, fly over to Piglet's house and tell him we'll plan a rescue.
As Owl flew over the flood, he spotted two tiny objects below. One was Piglet, standing on a chair, and the other was Pooh, still upside down in his honey pot. Owl called down,
A rescue is being thought of. Be brave, little Piglet.
Piglet swallowed hard.
thank you, Owl, but it's awfully hard to be brave when you're such a small animal.
Pooh and Piglet eventually floated right to the hill where their friends were. Christopher Robin smiled.
Pooh, you rescued Piglet. That was a very brave thing to do. You're a hero.
I am?
Said Pooh happily.
Yes, and so I shall give you a hero party.
Hooray!
Just as the hero party began, Eeyore arrived with a message.
I found it. A house for Owl. If you want to follow me, I'll show it to you.
Eeyore led the way through the woods and, to everyone's great surprise, stopped in front of Piglet's house.
This is Owl's new house. What do you think?
Pooh said,
But this house belongs to...
No, Pooh.
interrupted Piglet.
This house belongs to our good friend Owl. She'll live...
You shall live with me, Piglet.
Announced Pooh. Christopher Robin smiled.
That was a very grand thing to do, Piglet, giving your house to Owl.
And so, the one hero party became a two-hero party. Pooh was a hero for saving Piglet's life, and Piglet was a hero for giving Owl his grand home in the beech tree.
Walt Disney Home Video presents the story of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, too.
This is Winnie the Pooh, a teddy bear who belongs to a boy named Christopher Robin. Pooh has many friends in the 100-acre wood. One of them is a bouncy character with stripes.
Hi, I'm Tigger. T-I-double-G-R.
I know.
Said Pooh.
You bounced me before.
Tigger likes to bounce on people. One day he saw Piglet sweeping some leaves into a pile. He gave Piglet a good bounce. All the leaves went flying.
Shucks, that's only a little bounce,
said Tigger.
I'm saving my best one for Rabbit.
And Tigger bounded over to Rabbit's house. Rabbit was happily working in his vegetable garden when he heard Tigger coming.
Hello, Long Ears.
No, Tigger, don't bounce.
But Rabbit couldn't stop Tigger's bounce. Carrots went flying in all directions.
Tigger, just look at my beautiful garden.
Wailed Rabbit.
Yuck. Messy, isn't it?
Said Tigger.
Messy, it's ruined. Oh, why don't you ever stop bouncing?
Because bouncing is what Tiggers do best.
Rabbit was so upset about his garden that he called a meeting at his house, which Pooh and Piglet attended.
Attention, everybody. Something has got to be done about Tigger's bouncing. Now, I have a splendid idea. We'll take Tigger for a long explore in the woods and lose him. And when we find him, he'll be a more grateful Tigger. And, oh, how can I ever thank you for saving me, Tigger? And we'll tell him to stop bouncing.
So the next morning, the friends set out for the woods. Tigger bounced along in front of the others. Then, when Tigger wasn't looking, Rabbit, Pooh, and Piglet hid in a hollow log. Tigger suddenly realized he was alone.
Now, where do you suppose old Long Ears went to? Hello? Where are you, fellows? Gee, they must have gotten lost.
And Tigger bounced off to find his friends. When Tigger had gone, the three friends came out of the hollow log. Rabbit snickered.
You see, my splendid idea is working. Now we'll go and save Tigger.
But as they walked on, they kept coming back to the same sand pit. Pooh, who was a bear of very little brain, said,
That sand pit is following us. Maybe we are lost, Rabbit.
Nonsense, Pooh. I know my way home.
And Rabbit left to prove he could find his way home. After Rabbit had been gone a while, Pooh felt a rumbling in his tummy.
I think my honey pots are calling to me. Come on, Piglet. My tummy knows the way home.
Just then, who should appear but Tigger? He bounced Pooh and Piglet.
I thought you fellers were lost. Where's old Long-Ears?
It turned out that the only one who was really lost was Rabbit. All alone in the dense woods, he jumped at every sudden noise. Rabbit grew more and more afraid. There were so many strange shapes and sounds. Suddenly, he heard a familiar
Hello!
This time, Rabbit was happy to be bounced by Tigger. He pretended that he hadn't been afraid.
Oh, Tigger, I'm so glad to see you. We thought you were lost.
Shucks, Tiggers never get lost.
And they all went back home. When winter came, the 100-acre wood was covered with snow. Roo was so anxious to play with Tigger that his mother, Kanga, could barely get his scarf on.
I'll take care of the little nipper and have him home by nap time,
Tigger promised, and off they bounced because...
well, that's what Tiggers and Roos do best.
They came to a beautiful frozen pond in front of Rabbit's house. There was Rabbit, happily ice skating. Roo asked Tigger,
Can Tigger skate as fancy as Mr. Rabbit?
Sure, Roo. That's what Tiggers do best.
But when Tigger ran onto the ice, he slipped and skidded right into Rabbit. And they all went crashing right through Rabbit's front door. Tigger grunted.
Tiggers don't like ice skating.
Tigger and Roo went farther into the 100-acre wood looking for something else Tiggers do best. Roo suggested,
Let's climb a tree, Tigger.
Tiggers don't climb trees. They bounce them.
So Tigger and Roo bounced way up to the top of a tall tree. In fact, they almost bounced clear out of the book. Suddenly, Tigger realized how far down the ground was. He was terrified. Roo, however, thought this was great fun. He swung back and forth, holding on to Tigger's tail.
Stop, kid. S-T-O-P. You're rocking the forest.
Over on this page, Pooh and Piglet were following some tracks in the snow. Piglet asked what they were tracking. Pooh replied,
I won't know until I catch up with it.
Just then, Pooh and Piglet heard a sound in the distance.
Hello!
Pooh didn't know that it was Tigger calling for help.
I hope it isn't a fierce jaguar, because they halloo and then drop on you.
But it wasn't a jaguar. It was only Tigger and Roo up in the tree. Pooh looked up.
Are you all right, Roo?
I'm all right, but Tigger's stuck.
How did you and Tigger get way up there?
We bounced up.
Well then, why don't you bounce down?
Pooh was very smart for a bear of very little brain, and so Roo bounced down. But Tigger was still too afraid to jump that far. You see, Tigger, all your bouncing has finally gotten you in trouble.
Who are you?
I'm the narrator.
Oh, well, narrate me down from here. If you do, I promise I'll never bounce again.
So I turned the book sideways, and Tigger slid right down the block of type. He landed safely on the ground. Tigger was mighty glad to be out of that tree, and on solid ground again.
I'm so happy, I feel like bouncing.
Immediately, Rabbit stepped up.
No, Tigger, you promised.
You mean not even one teensy-weensy bounce?
Tigger was very, very sad. He turned and walked away. Roo tugged at Kanga's arm.
Mama, I like the old bouncy Tigger best.
Everyone said that they, too, liked the old Tigger best. Yes, even Rabbit. So they agreed to let Tigger have his bounce back and he leaped for joy. After all, a Tigger without his bounce is no Tigger at all.
Come on home where your good friends are waiting. Everything's shiny and new. Come where excitement is playing. Walt Disney and you.
Come home to all your good friends. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Herbie, Alice, Winnie the Pooh, Mary Poppins, Pollyanna.
You have a stubby little nose.
And many more. You're invited to enter a world of excitement. Suspense.
What did you see?
Surprise. And laughter. And music.
Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
And more laughter.
Hey, you mangy cur, come back with my car! Get him! That shaggy dog just stole my car!
Roses and rainbows.
And more music.
You better take a look again.
That's just the way we like them.
It's fun. And it'll take you by surprise. Are you ready for the Disney lineup?
You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I said I was ready.
Come on home. See what's waiting for you. Waiting for you. Come on home where your video's playing. Good times are waiting, it's true. Come where your family is waiting for Walt Disney and you. Walt Disney and you. Walt Disney and you.
Now available from Walt Disney Home Video.
Great!